I'm Hannah Collins, Vice Principal of Trinity Academy Leeds, which is a brand new school that opened in 2021 in Bermontoffs, right in the heart of Leeds. This school was built because there was a need, and this area has been underserved for some time. So we serve an area of high deprivation. 65% of our students are in receipt of pupil premium funding. The national is 20%, but at Trinity Academy Leeds, we're really careful that we don't conflate deprivation with a lack of aspiration. It's the complete opposite. And the reason for that is, although they are struggling sometimes, as many families up and down the country are financially, we know that giving them those fantastic academic opportunities is going to create really successful children who go on to live lives well led. I fell into teaching, sort of by accident. I am not, as many teachers are, I'm not from a family of teachers, and it was at university that I found an absolute passion for English literature. I'd always loved stories, I'd always loved storytelling, and I realised through my degree that I wanted to share those stories more widely. But I also realised that there's a phrase that books should be windows, mirrors and sliding doors. And the idea is that in a book you should be able to see yourself, and that's really important, but also they can act as windows to other worlds and sliding doors. So although I was born in the 80s in Stoke-on-Trent, in possibly not the most glamorous place, I could visit India, I could visit Singapore, I could go back into time into the 1500s through books. And I realised at university I wanted to share that passion more widely. And I went into the classroom for the first time as somebody who was actually quite nervous about public speaking. And it was transformative. I suddenly realised what education can do. And I realised that it's a real privilege to teach, but actually we call teaching the magic weaving business. And I love that phrase because it is about magic weaving. You've asked me to reflect and think about what I got into it. That's going to keep me teaching. And if I'm doing that with my staff and they feel empowered to go on and create beautiful resources and teach brilliant lessons, that's great, because job satisfaction is going home knowing you've made a difference. And my late dad said to me, you've got one job in this life. You've got to leave the world a little bit better than you found it. We're facing a retention and recruitment crisis in teaching, as you know. So I don't understand why we're not investing more in making good teachers great. To me, teamship is really important, and learning together, and I do think that learning is a social thing, and it should be a social thing. And it can be quite isolating when you're a teacher creating resources on a Sunday night on your own. And I also think that teaching is a profession, and just as we're unashamedly academic for our students, well, let's be unashamedly academic and professional as a profession. So just as in healthcare, you would invest in finding out what has the best impact and what does the best results for your patients, I believe we should do exactly the same in teaching. There's so much brilliant evidence out there about what makes better learners, and it just needs to be applied in the classroom. And I think so much brilliance in teaching stays within sort of four confined walls, and there's not enough sharing. And I think it's important that people feel validated and recognised and supported. All of that research, that fantastic research, is there. It's all on one platform. It's really easy to navigate. I love the fact there's a search bar for tap in memory. Right, there's loads of brilliant articles. There's case studies, there's research reviews, and teachers are very, very busy people. And just like with the students, I've just said to you that, you know, if you don't put a French horn in a child's hand, they're not going to learn to play it. It's the same with teachers. If I don't take you to the evidence, why am I assuming that you're going to find it somewhere else? I would absolutely recommend doing the Certificate of Evidence Informed Practice because it makes you reflect and think really carefully. And all of the Certificate of Evidence Informed Practice gets you to reflect upon that unconscious bias. Actually, am I teaching in that way for that reason? Am I being, even when I'm marking, am I assuming that student knows something they don't actually know? Keep asking yourself the hard questions. And if I can do my job better, then why wouldn't you help me be better at it? Because ultimately, all professionals want to do a really good job. And for me, job satisfaction is going home knowing you've done a good job, but equally having the humility to go, and tomorrow I'm going to do it even better. And I thought about, why don't we all do this qualification together? Why don't we all learn together so we can have learning communities, we can have conversations about it, and just as we have our own TAL language, let's use the same language about cognitive science, which is the debate task that we've all chosen. And the reason for that is our bookletised curriculum, everything we do is evidence-informed, absolutely evidence-informed. But it's really, really important to me that people understand that that is a continuous process. Just as we do in all other professions, we're going to get better and better and better as we learn more and more. In teaching, if we understand the human brain, particularly the adolescent brain, then we can adapt and respond to that in a really positive way. I also think it gives credence to people. You're not just a teacher, you're a qualified subject expert, and you're going to keep on learning. And that's going to keep you in teaching. Because if you're teaching a subject, that should be your absolute passion. And I think investing in staff and giving them the time, equally importantly, to pay attention to the most important things is really powerful. But how much more powerful is that if that is a social thing that we do together, rather than being that squirreled away in your bedroom, last thing on a Sunday night, panicking? Let's have a conversation. That's a much more powerful discussion. And ultimately, that's going to translate to fantastic teachers delivering expert lessons, and that's going to lead to beautiful outcomes.